middle of the Pacific Ocean lies the Hawaiian Islands. Traveling to and from this part of the world is a long journey in any direction. For Keonilei Akana, she knows this as well as any native Hawaiian. She has moved to the most landlocked state of North America, this being Nebraska, which is quite the opposite of Hawaii. Keonilei chose to come this far to be a part of the powerhouse University of Nebraska volleyball team.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Keonilei Akana. She is a sophomore at the University of Nebraska studying psychology, and she's also on the volleyball team. Keonilei, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Thank you for also inviting me to this. I'm very excited.
When did you start playing volleyball?
So I started at a really young age. I would say probably my 5th grade. So my mom, she played volleyball also. And at first she didn't really want us to play volleyball, like me and my sister, because she went through it and she kind of just didn't want us to have to live kind of under her shadow in a way. And so she had us try out for all these different sports, and we played soccer and we did everything. And so finally, after like towards the end, my sister and I, we begged her to let us play volleyball finally. And finally, she let us go to a practice, and we just ended up loving it from there. And ever since then, my sister and I have just absolutely loved it.
That's awesome. Does your sister still play?
Yes. So my sister, she stayed home for college. So she's at the University of Hawaii and she's playing volleyball there.
It's kind of funny that your mom didn't want you to do what she did, because I feel like it's usually the opposite. Parents are like, I want my kids to do exactly what I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's what like my mom didn't want to happen. Like I think she's like been through that experience wise, like as an athlete herself. And so I think she just wanted to like flip the role and just kind of have that in a way.
When did you know that volleyball was a sport you wanted to pursue long term?
I would say probably when other people like around the island would like see my mom, like if we'd be in the grocery store, because my mom played at the University of Hawaii. And so um she would still have like fans while we were younger, and she would like we would see videos of her playing. And so I think that's really when my sister and I like realized that she was pretty good, and we thought that like playing also would be a lot of fun, like just seeing her past and how she played.
Wait, so I mean, Nebraska's kind of crazy about volleyball. Is it at all similar in Hawaii?
Yeah, so I actually, like me personally, I think it's actually very similar to like the community from Hawaii and Nebraska. Of course, we don't have a beach here or any mountains, but I would say like the athlete environment back in Hawaii, like we really only have like one Division 1 college. And so because of that, like the whole fan base is huge back at home, just because they support the school. And um, like I would like they're always selling out with the crowds. And like even here in Nebraska, it reminds me of a lot of home, and how the fans and the support is just huge here. And so I would say it's just very similar as athletes.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that. So it kind of makes sense that they would be like, "Oh, you played volleyball at Hawaii," but it was like, because usually that's kind of a Nebraska thing, or I don't know if other schools are obsessed with volleyball. But what was
Mhm.
it like growing up in Hawaii?
um I would say, like me personally, I absolutely loved it. And even like going back home, I'm always excited. I would say it's just a place where even if you do go far away, like you can always go back to it and it'll still feel like home. The community and even just the environment by itself, it's just very calm. And like we say back at home, like it's the aloha spirit. And so there's just a lot of love. And so I think that's why growing up, I always knew that I always wanted to leave home, like for college, and even just growing up, because I knew that every time I would go home, like I would still feel that spirit and just the love from everyone that's there.
Having a different perspective from your teammates because you have come all the way from Hawaii to the middle of America.
I don't think I have like different perspective. I would just say, I guess, like I said, like the aloha spirit. Sometimes there's kind of I wouldn't say like a thing, but just like coming from a small island and kind of just knowing everyone like around the island because it's such a small state. I would say it's just really different from here because like growing up, we're always told to like put others first. And so, I mean, I'm sure like that's around everywhere, but I would say like that's something that I kind of work on here also because like even as an athlete, like as being in college too, like we talk a lot about it with our sports psychologist how we need to learn how to like put ourselves first sometimes, like just because we're always busy as like student athletes and everything like that. And I would say for me, I'm not very good at putting myself first. And so like going back to culture, like that's just something that I grew up in and something I'm still working on, but I would say that's something different for sure.
How was it, culturally and like just geographically moving to Nebraska, when you were a freshman?
I would say it was huge for me. So before I decided to come here, I've never visited Nebraska at first. And so,
Like
um,
most people.
yes. So the first time I came here was the first time I've ever seen Nebraska. And I would say I was very shocked, but at the same time, I was happy with my decision still. And I would say the first time I got off the plane, like I was just so curious. And I remember getting off the plane, but of course I came in like a COVID year. And so I had to go straight to the village to go quarantine and just with my other teammates. But of course I was just really excited and I could see the small community that I was entering. And of course there's no ocean here, there's no mountains, which was so different for me because like every corner that you turn in Hawaii, like that's all you see. And so I think like just environment wise, that was just huge for me. And also the weather. The weather really threw me for a loop during the winter for sure. But other than that, I would just say the environment by itself.
Have you become like comfortable now with Nebraska? Like you feel maybe like it's some sort of at home now?
Yes, I would say like after being here for a little bit over a year, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with Nebraska. And I think I also got like a lot more comfortable probably earlier in my freshman year just because I had so much support from like the team and just the staff and other friends that I've made here too.
So you have contributed quite a bit since you've gotten to Nebraska, like freshman year and this year as well. Was that a surprise to you, or did you expect to, go ahead and play when you got here?
So I had an idea that I would come in and fight for my spot. That was something that I talked to Coach Cook about, like coming in. And so I think that's just something that I've been like used to. Like I would say growing up is coming in to compete. And so he made that very clear, like as he was recruiting me, that like coming in to compete would be important. And so I wouldn't say like I was kind of expecting it, but I would say like I'm one of those people who like to speak it into existence. And so I like to create like vision boards or just whether I'm journaling about something that I want to overcome, then I would say like that was definitely something for sure that I had in mind. Of course, I wanted to come in and play as a freshman. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did last year. And so I think that made me a lot stronger this year, like coming in with experience and also coming in with like a chip on my shoulder, of course, like after losing last year in the finals. So
Keonilei also talked about how she and her teammates dealt with their season being postponed due to COVID last year.
it was really weird to the point where we went from having like a huge break of not playing to finally getting the okay to actually be on the court. And so I honestly think I was kind of lucky to have that like my freshman year, just that like break from volleyball, like games. Of course, we had practice and everything, but I think the first game that I had my freshman year, I didn't really have nerves. I was more excited to get back on the court to play an actual game. And so I think because of the COVID year, that really helped me feel a lot more comfortable as a freshman coming in instead of like being nervous as I might have been last year if there weren't a COVID year.
Do you want to talk about how much you've improved over the last few years, just going from a high schooler in a small state to now playing at one of like the top programs in the country for volleyball?
Yeah, so usually when I talk about this, I always think of like at first, so my sophomore year in high school, I was committed to go to the University of Southern California. And so, like, my whole high school career, I was pretty much preparing to go there. And so that was the decision maker. Like my senior year, when I was about to go to California, there was a coaching switch. And so that's what allowed me to either change my decision or stay at USC in California. And so I think like the whole decision making, that was something that I really had to think about because of course like volleyball was something that I absolutely loved growing up, and it's just always been so important to me, to the point where like I decided volleyball because of the legacy that they had here and because of the love that the support had, like as the crowd. And so I think I definitely chose to come here to Nebraska to get better, like as an athlete, and of course, like just an athlete off the court too. And so I think I think I've definitely improved from last year and even coming into my sophomore year. I feel like every practice, our coach he does a great job, like trying to make our team better. And so something that he's huge about is that like like that the process of learning something isn't linear, and it has ups and downs. And so I think that's just been something that has really helped me, because high school to college is just a huge transition. And I would say having so much time during that COVID year last year really helped me improve as a player.
You're a couple years removed from high school now, and I did some research and saw that you overcame 2 brain tumors during high school. Looking back on it, what are some of your profound memories, like, and feelings from getting through such a hard time that was?
Yes. So I would say those two experiences, like medically, that was probably the two hardest things I've had to do in my life. And I would say the first time when they did find the tumor, it was just really hard for myself and even my family, just because it was such a shock to us. And so something that I do remember was like going back and kind of just being upset, because the only thing that could really cross my mind was just getting back on the court. And I just wanted to play because I was so used to like playing the sport every day and playing volleyball because I absolutely loved it. And so um, I think that was kind of a bump for me, just to realize that that I don't know, that volleyball, of course, volleyball is something that's always been there for me, but that my health was really important. I would say like once I woke up from the surgery, the first thing that I asked the doctor was when I could go back on the court again. And he thought I was absolutely crazy because, of course, recovery and health. And so I would say it's really helped me mature at a young age, because I realized that putting myself first, and even just understanding that recovery is so important. And I think as an athlete, that's really important. And sometimes we don't realize that unless something happens, such as an injury or even like medical experiences that I've been through. And so I would say it was definitely a shock for my family and I, and that was just something that we had to overcome. And especially going through it the second time, I felt a lot more confident, and I felt a lot more comfortable going through the same process as the first time.
Was it, I mean, just from a perspective of someone who's never had something quite that scary, was it like just really just scary more than anything, or?
Yeah, so I would say I was very scared the first time. And so the first time it was my 8th grade going to my 9th grade year. So I was entering high school. And so I was really scared um because I was at a young age, and even like my parents, we had no idea up until one of the days I fainted and then I was rushed to the hospital. And so like looking back at it, my parents, we always think about what would have happened like if we weren't to find it, or even just all these other chances. But yeah, I would definitely say I was very scared, I remember being very scared, like going into the surgery room. And like it was very emotional for my parents and I also going in.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, at that age too, because if you're going into your freshman year of high school, those are just really crucial ages of like a young person's life,
Mhm.
especially like socially. So like a lot of times people go through that when they're like old, right? So that's just like really hard experience, I imagine. What qualities do you potentially carry with you because you went through all of that?
Something that comes to mind is I I really like to like whatever my heart desires or whatever I'm really passionate about. I feel that I'm able to conquer anything because of that. And so I think that's really built my confidence and really built like who I am as a female or even who I am like as an athlete. And so I think that's really helped me like growing up, especially after my medical experiences, just because like I said, like growing up, it really helped me mature because of what I was going through. And so I think it really helps me now to the point where um I feel that I'm an opening person. And so because I've been through that, I'm able to talk to other people who also get to go through that. And so I think that was huge for me because um, it was a couple months before I came here to Nebraska, but there was a little girl and she was going into radiation because she had a tumor also. And that was something that I had to go through after my second surgery. And so the doctor asked me if I could talk to her and her parents because they were so scared for her because she was even younger than I was. Like she was either 7 or 8 and she was really like scared coming in. And so I think just being able to go through that experience, I'm able to now talk to people who also have to go through it. And I think I help them feel a lot more comfortable like going into it, and even especially her parents because she was at such a young age.
And how are you doing health-wise today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I still do. So I had to do a deal with my doctor, and we have to do 2 times a year MRIs, like yearly scannings, and just to double check to make sure like the tumor isn't growing back or anything like that. Like, so other than that, though, my health has been really good since then.
That's good. Um, and I think I read that it wasn't cancerous, right?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Luckily, yes.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know how I thought of this question. Maybe this is like too much, but like, what would you say if you could go back to your younger self and like, what would you say to that person? When they were at their tough, like through those tough times.
Yeah, I would tell myself, ooh, I actually do think that about this a lot because I've definitely learned a lot from it. And so I would tell myself to be patient. I think like I said, just asking the doctor like so many times and kind of irritating him, like asking if I could go back on the court. I would say just being patient, like overall. I would say like going through that, like going through recovery and even just being at home like every day. It was probably a lot just because I was in a very like weird mental state. Like I was very sad and I was just so worried about getting back on the court. And so I think just telling myself to be patient because I was in a really negative state of mind at the time. And so I think of course I finally overcame that, like having my older sister who is awesome and always positive. But I would say like being patient at the time because I don't think I was really thinking about it. And I think right away when I got out of the hospital, like it was just so negative. And um luckily I found like positive ways to get out of it, but I think patience would have been huge for me back then.
Would you say that, now that you are where you are, would you say you have a certain character or strength about you that helps translate to the volleyball court?
Yeah, so I would say um so like going back, I would say like volleyball has always been something that's been like therapeutic for me. And so during my recovery, volleyball really helped me like feel better as a person and even as a player. And so I think like my why is something that Coach Cook even helped us like come to the realization of it. Last year, he had us write what is our why and what is the reason why we play the sport. And it took me a while to understand what my why was because I couldn't really figure out, like, I didn't know how to put it into words. And so something that I ended up writing up for him was, like, my why was to inspire others who also go through the same experiences, and to inspire others who also go through medical experiences that I went through, and to um, let them understand that whatever you put like your heart to, like, you'll be able to overcome. And I think that's been huge, because every time like I get back on the court and every time I step on the court, whether it's for practice or game, like I always make sure that I give my 110% always, because of the couple weeks that I was out, like that's when I really realized that I really appreciate this sport. And I was just so appreciative, like getting back on the court. And so I think just always giving it my all helps me give back to the sport in a way.
That's awesome. So your senior year of high school, you were volleyball player of the year in Hawaii. How awesome was that for you, being that, a year prior you had overcome a lot?
Yeah, so I think it was huge for me, because I would say my senior year was probably my hardest year as a volleyball player, just because growing up, so my sister is 18 months older than me, and so we were very close in age. And so because of that, we always played together. And because of that, I always had to play up, like age wise. And so I think my senior year, that's when I really realized a lot about leadership, and I learned a lot about um, like kind of taking the role as a captain, because growing up, I was never used to that, because I was always playing with older girls. And so by the time everyone left, my senior year, I was really going through it, because in the beginning of the season, I didn't know how to be a leader, and I didn't know how to be like a good captain for the team in a way. And so I would say receiving that award at the end of the year was huge for me. And I think um, I had to take a lot of time to actually understand what a leader was on the court, and how to play for others, and just how to play and like take the role as a captain and just as a leader, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah.
From playing sports too, just in high school, it's definitely something you have to work at. You can't just, I mean, you can be the best player, but like it's like an everyday thing. You have to
Yeah.
actively, like, every day, like, not only like work for yourself but for other people. So
Mhm. Totally. And I think
that's a
it's
really
like
good skill to have. Maybe this is off topic, but I wrote this down. Just like, what are some of your future life goals?
future life goals.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to play professional, like become a professional volleyball player. But so I'm studying in psychology. So I've always wanted to become a sports psychologist. I think when I'm done with like playing sports and volleyball in general, I think I still want to be included with sports and just other athletes. And I think having someone to talk to was a huge part of my recovery during my medical. And so I think like being there for other people would also help and benefit them just as it did for me.
That's really good. And you guys have your own, like, just Husker psychologists.
Yes, we do.
How often do y'all like need to, or just how often do y'all talk with them?
We all have different schedules. It kind of depends on how your schedule is or if you want to meet with her, but I meet with our psychologist like every other week. So
That'd be really cool if you could end up doing that. If you don't want to play volleyball after
yeah.
Nebraska, yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And even Dr. Brett told me she would help me, which would be so helpful if she could do that.
When will you get to go to Hawaii again?
So I'll get to go back home after season. So last year after we lost in the tournament, I was able to go home after that. So whenever we're done with our games, then I'll be able
Sweet.
to.
Is that going to be in December is that when the volleyball championships are?
Yes, yeah. I want to say either the 18th or the 19th. That's the goal, to play until then. That's the championship game, I want to say.
Sweet. Okay, I hope y'all make it all the way there.
I hope so too.
I've gone to one game. I went to my first game when you guys played Indiana, like
Oh,
last week or
okay.
something.
Oh, yeah.
But I hope y'all go that far. That's usually when I watch Nebraska volleyball is when they're like all the way to
The
the
tournament.
tournament. Yeah. So volleyball and school excluded, what are some things that you enjoy doing in the free time? Maybe you can't do all these things in Nebraska, but you can do them in Hawaii.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like going to the beach. That's something that I definitely make sure that I do, even when I do go home. So like I'd say this past Christmas, the first thing I did once I landed back in Hawaii was I went to the beach. And so the nice thing about Hawaii is that like we don't have seasons. And so that was something that was like totally different here when I came to Nebraska because we really don't have seasons. Like it's the same weather year round. And so it's kind of nice though, because when I get to go home, I can still go to the beach because it's still sunny and then I'll come back here and it's snowing and there's like a snowstorm. But I would say going to the beach is my number one thing that I really enjoy doing.